got to kind of treat it as a lifestyle almost. You make a lot of sacrifices, but at the same time, it's a very fulfilling job. It's exciting.
Negative, pit this lap.
If you're not trying hard, you don't win races.
We need to have a good result here to get him back on top, and this will be the place to do it, being his home race.
Red flag, pit this lap.
To get the most out of your driver, you really need to understand what makes them tick.
You know how to win this joint, you own this place, all right?
Okay, let's do it.
The Champ Car World Series is one of the most exciting and popular international road racing competitions on the planet. These open-wheeled cars' turbocharged V8 engines generate nearly 800 horsepower. And when pushed to the limit, these cars can reach top speeds of 240 miles per hour. Champ cars, unlike many other open-wheeled racing series, compete on temporary street courses, permanent road courses, oval tracks. They even race on airport runways. This makes it one of the most technically demanding and diverse racing series known to man. Champ Car drivers hail from 11 different nations, and its races are broadcast live around the globe. This weekend's event is in Toronto, Canada, and the driver the local fans are coming to see is Forsythe's Canadian racing superstar, Paul Tracy.
Distance and he's out breaking me by.
Tracy's competitive, take-no-prisoners driving style has earned him the reputation as one of the most electrifying drivers in the series. He's won more races than any other driver competing in Champ Car today. This weekend, as the series reaches its midway point in its current season, Paul Tracy is one frustrated man with no podium finishes and numerous crashes, which have earned him the nickname In the Wall Paul. There's no question Paul Tracy has an aggressive personality both on and off the track.
Paul is, people say one of the most aggressive drivers on the track. He brings, he's 37 years old. He's got 20 years of experience racing. He's just an outstanding driver, and we take the philosophy we're here to win. So we occasionally, the car doesn't come back. But if you're not exploring the envelope, if you're not trying hard, you don't win races.
Also adding to Tracy's woes is Forsythe's latest acquisition, one A.J. Almandinger, a fast young driver from California whose performance thus far has been very impressive. In his last race, not only did he finish first, but he also broke the track record, while Tracy crashed and scored another DNF, or did not finish.
It comes down to you always want to beat your teammate first and foremost. So you want to help each other as much as you can during the weekend to make Forsythe the best team possible, because ultimately we want to be battling for 1-2, but it comes down to no matter where we're battling, we still want to beat each other.
Toronto is Paul Tracy's hometown, and if there is one race above all others this season that he wants to win, it's the Toronto Grand Prix. That means the pressure is on Paul and his pit crew to be in top form. So first thing Saturday morning, the pit crew gets together to practice. A typical Champ Car pit crew consists of 15 full-time members, but only 6 men can go over the wall during a pit stop.
We bring the car out about 30 minutes before practice, and we're going to do some pit stop practice. So we have the 4 mechanics who change the tires, the fuel guy, and the guy who does the quick jack. And we'll run through some practice pit stops, just make sure all the equipment's working fine, all the guys are used to getting in the rhythm and changing the tires for tomorrow for the race.
A Champ Car race is a dangerous place to work. The methanol fuel is explosive. Fast cars are just inches away. But there is no time to look over your shoulder. Champ Car pit stops are some of the fastest pit stops in motorsport racing. The crew has to perform mistake-free and virtually without thought. Thinking will cost the team time in the race and keep the crew members in danger longer. That's why every move is choreographed and practiced repeatedly until it becomes second nature.
Just getting in the habit of doing it, so it's repetitious. I mean, you're not even thinking about it, it just happens. For instance, a tire changer, I mean, his goal basically is to get on the nut as cleanly as possible, as quickly as possible. Fueling, following the car in, the guy plugging the fuel in, getting the thing in there basically as clean as possible, because you're always waiting on the fuel 9 times out of 10. If you're doing a fill-up, I mean, the tire changer should be done well ahead of the fuel.
For one man, this practice session is absolutely crucial. Forsythe mechanic Jeff Buxton has just learned that along with his regular job in the transporter, he will also be filling in for one of the full-time tire changers.
It's old school and automatic. We have one guy going over the wall for the first time, replacing a person, doing the outside rear, and I mean, he's nervous. I mean, so he doesn't need any more input or anything, so just gonna let him go and do his job.
Just let him go and do his job. It's easy to say, but one inexperienced team member could cost the team valuable seconds and positions in the race. Buxton may end up looking enviously at another job on the pit crew.
Signboard is probably the best job, because they get to stand out there and watch the race. That's it. Hang out, watch the race, have a cool drink. That's the best job.
Following pit stop practice, the rest of the Forsythe team arrive and begin to prepare for their morning practice session. During practice, the crew will try to solve some cornering problems Paul Tracy has been reporting. They need to work that out before this afternoon's qualifying session. Starting positions for the final race are set according to the fastest lap times recorded during these qualifying sessions. Yesterday, Forsythe's driver Paul Tracy qualified 4th, and a 4th for Paul Tracy might as well be last. Unlike many other racing series, in Champ Car, the crew chief is not the top dog in the pits. The man in charge here today is Vice President of Team Operations, Neil Mickelwright.
Basically, I run the team and the company, so I'm pretty much like a general manager. Obviously, Mr. Forsythe owns the team, and then I take care of all of the operational issues of the team. Primarily, I'm on the headset up in the timing and scoring stand, usually talking with Paul, one of our drivers, and essentially keeping him briefed on where we are in the scheme of things, what's going on, when the next pit stop will be, and giving him any useful information that might help him to be more competitive.
Forsythe was on fresh tires.
Directly under Neil is lead engineer Eric Zito. Eric's vast knowledge of the physics behind what makes a Champ Car tick is used to help squeeze every last second of speed out of the number 3 Forsythe car.
Eric's the chief engineer on Paul's car, and so his job primarily is to come up with the setup or the alignment and the settings on the car to make it the best it can be on any given weekend. So once the car's out, he's usually studying his computer to understand what the car's doing, how it's doing it, and thinking about the next change that they'll be making.
What's up with this sway bar? It's all the way soft.
Yes, I want to try that. See if it's going to help your braking.
All right, my radio's not working.
All right.
Sway bars are an integral part of a race car's suspension system. They keep the car's body from rolling on itself in tight turns. This body roll slows a car. It tends to put more weight on the inside tires and less weight on the outside, reducing traction and stability.
The intent, and you wouldn't think that coming into Toronto, Paul Tracy would be all the way back to the 11th, but he
Nothing. His radio's not working. He wanted to ask me about the sway bar as well.
He's going to be able to...
You know, it's like a big thing with him, the sway bar. I don't think he understands that the sway bar is an adjustable thing. You have to have a fairly close relationship with the driver just to interpret, what he wants out of a car to go fast. So basically, you're kind of like a translator. He doesn't necessarily know the technical side of the things. Champ car racing is a very technical sport by nature. He basically just describes his, what he feels in the seat of his pants, what his butt is telling him, what the car's doing, and he tells me that, and then using my background, I interpret that as what the car needs.
Now that the Forsythe over-the-wall pit crew is warmed up and ready to go, it is time for today's practice session. While the race car is out on the Toronto circuit, a computer telemetry system monitors and records in intricate detail every move both the driver and car make. This can be used for on-the-fly setup decisions during a race and is also analyzed for future reference. Practice sessions for the pit crew are not about doing 12-second pit stops. They're about tuning and tweaking the car until the driver feels confident that he can push it to its maximum potential. This is the last chance the pit crew will have before final qualifying to try and fix the handling problems Paul was experiencing yesterday. If they don't get things sorted out now, they will have no other option but to run the qualifying session this afternoon with a less than happy driver. Though their game faces are on, emotions are running high in the Forsythe pit. They know that it is their job to give Paul the precise setup he wants.
Red flag?
Almost as soon as the practice begins, there is an incident out on the track, forcing the session to be red flagged. All cars must return to the pits until the track is clear.
No fuel, no fuel. Just so you know, they got you for speeding out of the pit lane that last time. 55, you do it again, they're going to spank your PP. So we need to keep an eye on this.
During the unscheduled break in practice, a tire change and some minor suspension adjustments are made. With the track given the all clear, Tracy then heads back out on fresh rubber.
49 minutes, watch your speed in the pit lane, watch your speed in the pit lane.
Champ cars are very complex machines. Obviously, we're approaching 180 miles an hour at the end of the longest straight, and you're braking, to essentially 30 miles an hour in about 200, 250 feet. So the braking performance is a very key component to lap time. For sure, we're trying to make our cars go fast, but key to lap time on a circuit like Toronto is just as much about the ability to stop as it is the ability to accelerate and go through corners.
After only a few hot laps, Tracy returns to the pits. The car is still not performing to his liking. He reports that he's having to brake early into the corners in order to maintain the car's stability, and that the early braking points are reducing his overall cornering speed.
Eric, we are just slightly deeper in braking, We're not getting the exit off of the corner. Not bad.
The pit crew once again tweaks the car's suspension and puts on a new set of tires. Tracy then heads back out to see if the situation has improved.
Lost cohesion, car, lost stability from the braking. It's one lost here. The whole car seems to have less grip.
It's like the car became more inconsistent to drive.
Okay.
Feels disconnected front to rear.
Last lap.
Can't brake, Eric.
Yep, 10-4.
Tires are destroyed.
10-4, we've seen it.
As the practice session comes to a close, Tracy reports back that the car is now actually handling worse than it was at the beginning of the session. Frustrated, he consults with the team's lead engineer.
Just our biggest problem is just terminal locking. I can't brake deeper than what I'm doing. I have to brake early or else I won't stop.
Let's change our focus a little bit now, right? We've extended our braking zone, right? We need to trust the rolling speed, you know? Particularly on reds, right? You have to trust the grip of the tires to, I mean, it's like, let's face it, that's always been your strength on these street circuits, right? You take a quick stab, you have a quick release.
Featuring the Sunoco Longfellows Karting Championship, the classic car and bottle fest, and find out how you can win free Ultra 94 gas.
After each on-track session, the pit crew returns to the paddock area where they have a fully functioning transportable garage. Here is where all the major work on the car is performed. Every member of the pit crew double as mechanics in the transporter and have one specialized skill relating to the inner workings of the race car.
It was a pretty average morning. A lot of the changes we made this morning, we didn't get the improvements out of the car that we were looking for. At the same time, we're only allocated 7 sets of tyres, so we're running old tyres. So the progression as you go through the morning practice sessions, the tyres obviously get older and older. Right at the last run there, we put on a new set of tyres. We didn't make the big gains that we were looking for, so obviously the engineers and Paul will be sitting down talking before qualifying and coming up with some changes and hopefully get a little bit more time out of the car before qualifying. Okay, this is Neil Campbell. He's the hometown hero. He's from Toronto originally.
Hello, everybody.
He's just doing a nut and bolt on all the rear suspension, making sure everything's tight like we talked about. This is Dan. He's actually pumping out the methanol right now. After every time we run the car, we pump the methanol out to get a fuel number, and that we give that to the engineers and then they can calculate the fuel mileage on this engine. So going into tomorrow's race, we know exactly what sort of fuel mileage we can expect to get from this engine. It's very important, obviously. This is Jeff. We call him Aussie for obvious reasons. If you hear him talk, he's got a very strange accent. He's doing the same sort of thing. He's doing a nut and bolt, just making sure all the suspension is tight. And then this is actually a truck driver, Mark, and he's just cleaning the car, making sure it's all spotless so it all looks good and sharp for qualifying.
It is only a short time now until the final qualifying session for tomorrow's race along Toronto's Lakeshore, and the Forsythe pit crew is back in pit lane. Once again, they'll prepare the car with fresh fuel and rubber to go back out on the temporary racing circuit. Paul Tracy finished 4th after yesterday's qualifying, and he's looking to improve that today.
The strength of Paul's crew is just experience. I mean, they have a group of guys that have been doing it together for 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's just automatic for those guys, and that's why if you look at any of the cumulative pit stop times for a given race weekend, Paul Tracy's and AJ Almandinger's crews are always at the top of the list. Period. Paul's just in a slump right now. I mean, we need to have a good result here to get him back on top, and this would be the place to do it, being his home race.
Here in Toronto, local newspaper journalists have been suggesting that Paul's teammate, AJ Almandinger, who has just won the last 2 races, is getting preferential treatment and technology from the Forsythe team, hinting that his number 7 car may actually be faster than Tracy's.
AJ's car is not faster. They're very similar. I mean, people got to realize that AJ is on a huge emotional roller coaster right now. I mean, he's unbeatable right now. He's on a pedestal. So, I mean, he's going to get 110% of the car. Paul's car, in my opinion, is every bit as fast or faster than this one right now. But he's on the other end of the spectrum. He's in a little bit of a slump, and we just got to get him out of that slump. There has to be some competitiveness to make them both take them to the next level. I mean, but you don't want to get it to the point where it becomes where they get disjointed and it's 2 separate teams. It's not. It's one team. It's in our interest to have them both the best that they can be.
The Champ cars get a couple of sighting laps before the qualifying session goes green. More suspension adjustments have been made to the race car prior to the session in the hopes that Tracy will get the stick he needs from the number 3 car in the corners.
AJ 58.9, Wilson 59.02, then you 59.04. So currently P3, half a second clear of Philippe.
The number 3 car appears to be handling better. Tracy is clocking the 3rd fastest lap times during the warm-up session. Eric Zito continues to get feedback from Tracy as he negotiates the circuit.
Let me break it down to this way, okay? Just looking at your braking performance right now, you've definitely made improvements like with the roll-in speed, right? But the problem is I think we've gone too far the other way. Let me break down the Lakeshore, the hairpin turn 3 to you, okay? Your stopping performance is like awesome. Basically, in a straight line, you brake as late, if not just a touch later. You hit the brake pedal later than AJ did, even in yesterday's red tire qualifying run, okay? And you can see there's like the 4 tires slow down equally, and you like slow down so fast. You know what I mean? You actually slow the car down faster than AJ. The thing is, he enters that corner with more speed.
When I try to enter more speed, front end just shoots across the track.
For sure, every driver, I think when things are going well, they have almost an arrogance about them, and I think, they can do no wrong in their mind. But I think when things aren't going well, drivers are probably some of the most insecure people that you'll find. When he's feeling down, you have to know, the right buttons to push to lift him up, and conversely, when he's kind of riding on too high a horse, you need to, settle him back down a bit.
I just drive like I know how to drive.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to copy what he does.
No, exactly. Just do. That's all I'm saying, Paul. It's really what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm saying is stop focusing on like, for example, the brake and this and that, whatever, right? You used to, just get the max speed out of it, right? Let's just think max speed.
With tensions in the Forsythe pits running high, it's time for the final qualifying session to start. Once out on the track, Paul Tracy will have just 1 hour to turn his fastest lap and hopefully secure the pole position for tomorrow's final. The pit crew's setup difficulties with the car's suspension continues on into qualifying. Tracy's lap times remain consistent with those from his previous practice sessions. Neil makes his best effort to keep Paul in a winning state of mind.
10-4, those are some good laps, currently P3 overall. But we're right there, right there.
Currently holding the 3rd fastest qualifying time, a frustrated Paul Tracy returns to the pits, hoping that his crew will come up with a quick solution to correct his cornering issues. Qualifying time is running out for the team. In a last-ditch effort, the pit crew mount a set of tires known as Reds. Reds are super soft, sticky tires, which allow the driver to push his car harder in the corners. The downside to using Reds is that they remain sticky for a very limited number of laps. After only a couple of hot laps, these tires quickly turn from sticky to greasy. Tracy's woes continue as heavy qualifying traffic slows him up, preventing him from recording a hot lap he needs to earn the pole position for tomorrow's race.
Traffic. Yeah, 10-4, it looked like I'm going to get by Wilson. I didn't say anything, but you need to find yourself a gap, but we're looking right now at the screen. Okay, you can back up a little bit, but not much. Keep an eye on your mirror. Don't make sure you don't get in the way of Serbia. Let Serbia get away from you a bit. Everybody's pretty evenly spread out. It's not like there's a big gap out there anyway. But you know he's going to back up on you. Paul, you're going to have 2 laps to go when you take the beacon, all right? All you need is 1 lap, okay? All you need is 1 lap. Just make the best gap you can and go for 1 lap.
Josh, I'm tired. Josh.
Okay, I want you to calm down. You're going to take 1 more good kick in the gap, okay? Gather yourself up for 1 more go. Just make sure you've got a gap. We're going to give you 1 more go.
my God, I can't take much more.
Wilson threw one in right at the end to go P1. We ended up P4, so basically still same place we were yesterday, but we're not as far back as before. Wilson 58.18, AJ 58.26, Bourdais 58.34, and then you at 58.57.
Following the session, the entire pit crew knows that Tracy is not happy with his 4th place qualifying time.
Went into qualifying very optimistic about having a shot for the pole. First qualifying attempt was good. Went to the option tire, which is the red tire. And for whatever reason, we're just not, as a team on this side, able to capitalize on a tire like some other teams.
I don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand how we're like the only team, only car in pit lane that when we both done. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not.
I tried everything you want me to try. Do it.
Yeah. Okay.
The car becomes undrivable. I can't even get within 3/10. You know?
Hey, well, I don't know what you want me to say because I don't have the magic adjustment that everyone else seems to have. Everyone else throws reds on. That's the only change they make. We throw reds on, and you know it seems like we need to change the whole car. I don't know what that change is.
It seems to be a fundamental balance shift.
It's not even a balance shift.
It's not a balance shift.
It's just the car's crap. It's got no grip. You know, it won't go through the corner at all. As soon as I let it go into the corner, it starts to slide.
The good news is we didn't end up any lower on the grid, but we're closer. We're closer to the people in front of us than we've been. So I mean, overall we've improved, but not to the degree we'd like to.
Clearly, there is tension in the pits. Both Tracy and the Forsythe team believe they can do better. Still, Paul puts on his game face to meet with the Toronto press corps.
You know, it's a long race, it's a tactical race, so, you know, 4th is good. So, you know, we're happy with how the car is performing on the black tires. I think we're very quick on black tires, and we're not going to run reds in the race. We've decided that already. The car just doesn't want to react to reds, so I think, you know, we're going to go with what we know.
Part of the maintenance strategy of the Forsythe pit crew is to monitor how long every component on the number 3 car has been in use, so that high-stress items can be changed well before there is any chance of a failure.
Parts lifing is probably one of the most critical things on these cars. I mean, for the most part, about everything on there is mileaged. For instance, suspension pieces, pretty much, it sounds like a lot, but 5,000 miles. They very rarely see that because they don't last that long. You get through accidents. But between that, engine components, everything is mileaged. There's a mileage report for basically each side, each car for the day, and this comes from Cosworth. This is solely just the things that they monitor, which is engine related. This is not anything that does with the car. I have another sheet that's completely separate that I get from the engineers.
The engineering trailer is, we're fortunate enough to actually be one of the few organizations to actually have an entire semi, an entire, you know, full-on tractor trailer that comes to the races that is essentially a mobile office. It's just an extension of the office that we have back at the shop. It's laid out to be as open as possible, much like our office back at the shop, to encourage as much communication between the two sides, because ultimately, the way I view engineering is just one big group, you know, that strives to gain as much performance out of the 2 cars as possible.
If you look at that, Eric, they're all a little bit different. AJ is carrying more speed in the first third, less speed mid-corner, but back to throttle more aggressively than Paul. It's just a style difference, and I wouldn't say it's... I mean, AJ's making it work just a little bit better. His style is so close.
Right now they're going to take the headers off, getting ready to put the race ones on, which we do every Saturday night. If we're not doing an engine change, we have race headers that go on that are certain mileage. We don't go into a race with anything over 1,500 miles on the exhaust system. So they're putting a fresh set on for tonight. That's what they're process of doing now. After that, they'll change the clutch. But really right now, it's pretty, until they get going here, you'll see it kind of slow paces, and they get into the transmission here shortly. They'll bust it all apart, change every gear in it, get ready for tomorrow, change drive shafts, new brakes, look at everything closely, change out the things that are mileaged out, and get ready for tomorrow. It's gonna go, it'll pick up here in a little bit. It kind of gets to a lull here for a little while, and then it'll get chaotic. You all right?
Yeah. Can't figure out this rush.
You just can't worry about it. It's easy for me to say, but I'm telling you that
It feels like the car's like a sprint car with a flat tire.
I know, but I don't know. I'm not a driver, but honestly, I tell you, I mean, you're too hard on yourself. Jesus Christ. I think. You can laugh at me. That's what it is. Hey, they don't say nobody in yellow shoes, though.
Huh? These are orange.
Tomorrow, if you let AJ, you let your buddy Wilson whack you in the corner, you're going to get a tattoo.
Forsythe mechanic Jeff Buxton is now less than 24 hours from his first over-the-wall pit stop during a race. He's trying his hardest to keep his nerves from getting the best of him.
Well, today will be all right. It's tomorrow I've got to worry about. But I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Otherwise I won't sleep tonight. I'll worry about that in the morning.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, he got no problem. If it was a question, he wouldn't have been over there. Yeah, no, if anybody's putting pressure on, he's putting too much pressure on himself. Yeah, he'll be fine. He's never down. I mean, he's always positive, upbeat, 110% all the time. So, now he's ready. Yeah, he needs to do it.
Race day for the Forsythe team starts with a short 30-minute practice session. Champ car drivers are a highly competitive bunch, and even during a practice session, they will push to see if they can better their competitors' lap times. This morning, things are going very well for the number 3 car, as Paul Tracy is laying down the second fastest lap times of the morning, even faster than his teammate AJ in the number 7 car. Everything continues to go according to plan for the number 3 team, when suddenly Tracy's smooth ride encounters some unforeseen bumps.
Red flag. Hit this lap. Red flag. You must have been pretty close to that. Oh, I guess we were a part of that.
On the side of him, he turned in, drove over my tire.
Okay, guys, have a good look around. Which time?
The practice session is cut short for the number 3 team, as Tracy is given an 8-minute penalty for his role in the incident. Though the race car seems to have received very little damage, this altercation cuts the team's on-track testing time in half.
And Casamets, I don't believe, saw Tracy going through on the inside. The right front Paul Tracy connects with the left rear of Thomas Casamets.
This morning started off okay, but Paul had an incident on the track with another car and it caused a red flag. And anytime you cause a red flag, you get an 8-minute penalty. And there was less than 8 minutes to go in the session, so of course that meant that we were out of time. We're running full tanks. It's always good to, try and run 30 minutes on full tank, see how the car's handling. So, I mean, that puts us a little bit behind the 8 ball, but at the same time, we'll be fine. The car wasn't too badly damaged, really. It was a small incident. He went down the inside of another car they touched, just kind of ran over the front wheel of Paul's car. It broke the front wing, no suspension damage, so got away pretty lucky.
As the pit crew goes through their pre-race checklist, the Champ Car fans pour into the grandstands set up along the temporary racetrack. It Toronto, the Grand Prix is one of the biggest annual events of the summer, and tens of thousands of fans come from far and wide to experience a Champ Car race up close and personal. And the driver the Toronto fans come to see is their hometown boy, Paul Tracy.
Right now we've got a few minutes before we go get some lunch, so the guys are just starting to break down all the equipment. After the race we're flying out tonight. We've got a flight at 7:30, so we're going to be pushed for time, so we're just breaking down a little bit right now, then we'll finish off after the race. I mean, it's an exciting job. You got to kind of treat it as a lifestyle almost, because you do a lot of traveling, you spend a lot of time in airports. A lot of guys have got families, you spend a lot of time away from your family, so you make a lot of sacrifices, but at the same time it's a very fulfilling job, it's exciting. I do it because I love racing.
Before this round in the Champ Car Series can get underway, the 17 competitors will first line up their cars in their starting order on pit lane for the official opening ceremonies.
You'd like to hope that the pit crew wouldn't put any added pressure on themselves, because that'd be the worst thing, on race day. If you're, in the heat of the race and you're thinking, oh God, I can't screw up because, this is Paul's hometown race, you're going to make a mistake. And I think, if you kind of see me on the stand and you see the guys operate, we do look kind of calm. I mean, it looks like we're going through a routine, and I think that's just largely because, we're trained to do that. You just don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're panicking, where you're putting any added stress on yourself.
You know what I think's going to happen? I think Justin's going to blow the start. I think the left outside train is going to move, and then Sebastian's going to get pinched down low. We'll see if he does anything stupid though. Because you know what happens if you get pinched against the wall there in turn one?
Yeah. Get the pinch.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't do anything crazy and go spearing on, straight ahead.
This is Paul's home race, and we have actually had a pretty good car here. The car was fast yesterday. We never got a really good lap on the red tyres, so I think we stand a pretty good chance.
We try not to lose positions in the pit, and where we can, we try to gain positions. But on race day, it's really up to Paul. I mean, it's almost out of our hands at this point, The car's set, it's really just a race between the drivers, and that's what it should be. If we're in a situation where we have to save fuel, the trail throttle that we did at Cleveland, all that stuff is perfect, all right? But like I said, you drive the race, you know how to win this joint, you own this place, all right?
With the opening pomp and ceremony out of the way, it's time for the pit crew to go to work. The field goes green, and the race is on. Paul Tracy is immediately locked in 4th place. Gaining a position requires patience, tenacity, and a flawless pit stop strategy.
One thing that tends to happen in this race is because of the length of the race and the number of miles or laps you can do on a tank of fuel, at some point everybody will do a short fill, in as much as instead of filling the car to the top, they'll put less fuel in an effort to try and gain track position.
Okay, we're all set up. You're going to have to come around AJ's guys. Come around AJ guys.
Although Tracy starts the race on the softer red tires, he changes to the blacks during the first pit stop. Champ Car rules dictate that each competitor must use both reds and blacks during a race. Though they used the short fuel strategy, mounting the back left tire took almost a second longer than the other 3 tires. This means that although they only put in a splash of gas, they lost several spots during the pit stop. Paul Tracy is now behind the 8 ball. He must push hard to fight his way back from 7th, while trying to conserve fuel until he can pit again.
All right, Paul, I know you're doing all you can with fuel, but just to give you an idea, the leaders are getting in the high 1.9s. They're able to do in the mid to high 1.9s.
No way I can do that. You know, I'm not even going to full throttle anywhere around the track, and I'm only making 186.
10-4, 10-4. All I can do, and all you can do, is try.
From turn 3 all the way back to the start-finish line, I don't even get the full throttle. I'm just like half throttle, you know, everywhere.
The short fuel pit stop strategy forces Tracy to dial back his driving style in an effort to conserve fuel. Falling off the pace, the team calls in an engine technician from engine supplier Cosworth.
I was with Roosport and Wilson last year, and he was coming off the throttle so much that he was sending the butterfly into like a weird harmonic, something that the electronics weren't even used to seeing. That's where he was saving all his fuel. So if he can roll into something...
Is he better off using full throttle but rolling out of it sooner?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of, they say go ahead and use full throttle, but at the end of the straights, try and roll out of it sooner. Try and roll out earlier, but go ahead and use full throttle to make up the difference.
The advice of the Cosworth engine specialist works, and almost immediately, Paul Tracy's fuel mileage begins to dramatically improve, allowing him to return to the aggressive driving style that has made him famous.
That's just unbelievable mileage. You're actually going quicker than the 3 or 4 cars in front of you.
As if on cue, Tracy makes his move for 3rd place and passes his longtime rival, Sebastian Bourdais.
No, like I said, our 2 cars should, without question right now, be in front, sailing away from the pit.
Justin Wilson is now in Tracy's sights as the Forsythe car moves from 3rd to 2nd place. With the Forsythe team now running 1-2 in the Toronto Grand Prix, the pressure again falls on the shoulders of the pit crew. It is now up to the pit crew to make sure that no positions are lost during the final planned pit stop.
No. Negative. Pit this lap.
After near-perfect pit stops from the Forsythe crews, Paul and AJ begin to pull away from the rest of the field. But with only 9 laps remaining, a crash brings out the yellow caution flag. The field once again tightens up under the caution, and once again, it's anyone's race.
Full course yellow, stay out, full course yellow. Okay, just an update now then. Yeah, full course yellow, there are 9 laps to go. You are currently P2. AJ is leading. Last time by, Bourdais was -18. I'm still looking to see how much traffic there is between you and Bourdais. Did you understand what I told you previously? As you come over now, there are 5 laps to go. When it goes green, there will be 4 laps to go. The guy behind you, Bourdais and Wilson and DeMarta are all for position. Prior to the stop, you were outrunning all of those guys behind you. Okay, get ready. Keep an eye on what's going on in front of you as well. We do not need teammates touching. Be ready. Get ready. Green. Okay, keep an eye on your mirrors. Bourdais right there with you. Last lap. Bourdais right there. Bring her home, buddy. Bring her home. Bring her home. Good job. Good job.
I know it's not exactly what you wanted, but you drove an awesome race today.
The only thing, though, I tell you what, before the race, I was glad I did is told Jerry, the owner, I says, he said, how we can do today? And I mean, I said 1-2. I told him that. And I was so glad we did that because he came to me right after the race and said, you're right, you called it.
I really, really wanted this one, and you know, I've been close, you know, now a couple of years in a row, and you know, you can almost taste it, and you can smell it, and it just, you know, you always wonder if you're going to get another shot as close, but really, I guess that's just the way it goes.
Went pretty well. You know, obviously 2 cars on the team. We finished first and second, so we're pretty happy with that. Pretty uneventful race. It was the 3rd win in a row for AJ. Nice to see PT back up on the podium where he belongs, and he drove a heck of a race. Really, I mean, everything just went, you know, really very, very well. For the team, the crew members, everybody on it, you know, a 1-2 is the best that we could possibly hope for, so we're all delighted.
There you go,
It's a huge team morale boost, and you know, ultimately it's the best finish you can ask for, so everyone's ecstatic right now. It's great feeling. Right now the guys they're going to clean it because it's pretty dirty. They're going to pickle it, which means they're going to run gasoline through the fuel system just to flush out all the methanol, and we're going to put it in the trailer and go party.
It wasn't as bad as what I thought. I probably messed myself up a little bit the first time. Prior to the race, I hammered that wheel on pretty hard because I like to make sure that it was on good. It cost me a little bit of time getting it off, but I got them all on facing the right way and nothing fell off. Had a good day, so now that's all over, I feel a lot better. I need a drink now.
Paul, for sure and certain, we needed this for him more than anybody else, probably emotionally, to put him back to know that he can run up front. And again, going to Edmonton now, I think, you know, both guys will be contending for the win there. No question.